Well, hi, it's Grandpa Ricky again, and I'm home now. And I was moved by Jeffrey asking about the Pomo folks, friends, and I wanted to tell you about Lawrence Smith. He was an amazing man. He's still an amazing man. He still comes to me in my dreams, and he didn't give away any of his culture, but well, I guess in a way he did. He taught us about Waya, about spiritual energy and how important it is to keep your energy up because we've got to row our boat, put exercise into our life, and sometimes I get so exhausted and run down that I just don't have energy to do what I know is good for me, like exercising. So Lauren would come to me in my dreams, and once I was in deep despair. I was praying to die. I knew I really couldn't kill myself. I tried too many times and failed. It's funny trying to commit suicide because you feel like such a failure and then failing at suicide. But what he said to me, he said, listen, you've got to build your way up. And I didn't even have the energy to do what I knew would help me. And so then he came again a few nights later and he said, why don't you come and see me? And so I did. I wrote him a letter because he didn't have a phone, and said that I was coming. And I booked a flight, and I flew out to California and rented a car and drove up to see him. And I hadn't heard from him. It was just all done in desperation. And he took me into his where he did the ceremonies and did the healings and things. And we tried to build a fire for 4 hours. And while we were trying to build a fire, two guys who know how to build fires, and the fire wouldn't start. And so he told me about every smashed up relationship he'd ever been in and he'd ever heard about. And finally the fire lit and he jumped up and he said, well, I gotta go. And he walked out and he said, you can sleep here if you want to. And he walked out and he drove away. And I was sitting there thinking, God, I never got to talk about my problems. I just heard about everybody else's problems. So I sat there for hours and then finally decided I'd get going. And I got in the car and I drove back down the coast. And I was thinking, God, what's different? What's different? And I realized that I actually felt good. And years later, he told me that he had been pumping energy into me. He'd been giving me way up while he was talking about all of these terrible relationships and how relationships were very hard. And at the end of the thing, he said, "Don't worry." He said, "There's somebody out there, and you're going to connect with them." And he gave me a clue about what to look for, and I guess a year later, I met my partner June, and sure enough, he'd kind of sort of described her, but enough that I knew it was like, yep. And June and I have been together for 25 years. So it's all about building energy, and I'm going to make another little video where Lauren was using what he had learned. He'd been a bad guy, not a bad guy, but kind of an ordinary guy. He'd been in trouble lots, and then this healing energy came into him, and he was lucky because he thought that he was going crazy, but the elders and the old people in his tribe, they recognized that, he's a healer, and this is the healing energy that's coming in, and they helped him learn how to use his suffering and turn it into tools to help other people. So anybody who's in trouble, people who are in jail, people who are going crazy and end up in loony bins, they're all healers, but nobody in our society knows and recognizes the signs and helps them. And so I hope you've enjoyed this video. And I still don't know how to get these videos from my phone into YouTube, but somebody's going to come along. Okay, so remember, you've got to tell your story. My friend Angelos Arians always used to say, everybody's story is important. We're all carrying a little bit of the solution to all the problems. And we've got to kind of come out and take the lid off and risk seeming to be kooky. And so I hope this helped. And you tell your videos. Please make videos. They're so important. And the world has the tools now where we can share story and we can encourage each other to keep going. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye.